going to talk about college football, but we have a traitor among us. Tracy Fisher, used to be Tracy Palmer, great friend of mine, great gal. And Tracy, I'm just teasing you. You can root for the Bears. But we want to thank you for taking great care of us.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
She brings her food, brings her drinks, gets us set up. Without Tracy Fisher, we couldn't do this. And you are awesome. Are you a Bear fan, or did they make you wear that shirt?
Well, it kind of upsets Nelson.
Oh, it upsets Nelson, so that's why you are.
Nelson. So,
Good PR move.
I think it's going to be a great game. And
You really do, huh?
I do. I think it's going to be a good game. I do want to do a little shout out, if I could.
Sure.
To one of the biggest Colts fans who resides in Sarasota, Florida. My girlfriend, Kathy Jo. Go Colts.
Well, Tracy, we appreciate what you do for us here.
Not
Thanks
a
for
problem.
chatting with
Everybody
us.
needs to come on out. This is fun.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
That's Tracy Fisher. She takes good care of us, brings us our great food and drink, and we appreciate it.
Okay.
Now to college football. Steve, which game, first of all, jumps out at you from yesterday?
Well, it's got to be the humongous upset with the subdivision school. Louisiana Monroe goes to Fayetteville, knocks off Arkansas in overtime. I mean, they were
what, 8th in the nation or something?
Yeah, Arkansas was saying they're probably looking to Alabama next week. They probably looked ahead and thought this will be a pushover. I mean, that would be like St. Francis going to South Bend and beating Notre Dame. I mean, they shouldn't.
Yeah, which could happen. Notre Dame, no, I'm kidding.
They shouldn't have scheduled them. I mean, obviously it's for money. It's a cupcake. And then, but there again, how many years ago was it when Appalachian State
Beating Michigan.
beat Michigan? Toledo 2 years ago beat Penn State. Now, granted, Penn State is down, and they're really down this year. That's a whole nother topic we can get into later. I really actually feel sorry for those kids.
Right.
Because they had nothing to do with it.
Well, let's go locally. A game that people were not expecting to be that tough. The spread was in the teens, double digits, and Purdue goes to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame had to kick a field goal with 7 seconds to go to beat him. What did you take on that?
Well, and the backup QB came in. Well, actually, not the backup, but Reese actually saved them there at the end. I think Golson played well. Yeah, you're right. I thought most people thought it'd be a 20, 30-point victory. Maybe not 30, but probably 21-point victory.
2 or 3 touchdowns at least.
Yeah, and, Purdue, I don't know. In general, if you look at the Big Ten yesterday, the Big Ten's not very good.
Well, they weren't yesterday, were they?
Nebraska gets pounded. Well, they get pounded. Yeah, they did. Wisconsin got beat 10-7. That was close. Michigan didn't look good. They won. I mean, the Big Ten's struggling.
Yeah, Penn State got beat by Virginia. That's not a surprise, but they were ahead 16-10, got beat 17-16. I find some people now root for Penn State because of what you just said.
Yeah.
The players there, they had 12 players leave. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
12 of their stars left. So people are kind of saying, we just test what happened there. We test that, but the players that are there had nothing to do with it, and they feel sorry for them. Back to that Purdue Notre Dame, you said quarterback Reese, he got in trouble and was suspended. Mm-hmm. And Golson, the sophomore, played pretty well. They brought in Reese to a rounding booze as he came in because people were upset that he didn't handle his personal life well and didn't start, and led him to a game-winning field goal. On the postgame, Brian Kelly said, Golson's a sophomore. He's a freshman last year, didn't play much, at all. He says Reese had been in the 2-minute drill live. He says Golson never had. He never played in a regular game. He never had to run the 2-minute offense. Mm-hmm. And he said that's why he brought in Reese. And people maybe didn't like it. He says, he, even though he had to sit out, said he had been a number of times. He ran the 2-minute drill. And that's why he brought
experience.
He had the experience. So when you look at Notre Dame, it's like, we're with you, win or win. Don't tell us, we don't care who you bring in, we want you to win.
Right.
And now everyone loves Reese. No, not everyone, but a lot of people say, oh yeah, it was a great move. But he defended it and saying Reese had the experience in the 2-minute drill. Not that he was upset with Golson necessarily, but Reese obviously was the one who had the experience. That's why he brought him in.
As a broadcaster, I got to ask you a question. What's your whole scenario on this Pinkett comment?
Well, I'm going to make some people upset, and so Julie's going to take me off the air. Pinkett chose his words unwisely. Mm-hmm. He was not politically correct.
Is there some truth though?
But he was correct.
Yeah.
I go back, what he said, he shouldn't have used maybe those words, but what he really meant was, you can't have a bunch of choir boys
on a football team.
You just can't. And not that you want outlaws. Not that you want convicts.
The Bengals.
You want to have a little nastiness in you. And I'm going to say this very kindly. We have one of the reasons East Knoll was pretty good. We got some people going to hit you and keep hitting you. They're pretty nasty. And all the good teams, be it Ohio State, whatever, that's true. Again, he probably shouldn't have mentioned the word Ohio State. You know, when you say, well, Ohio State's got these kind of players, that's why, that's probably bad judgment.
People assume it's dirty.
It's dirty. But he was right when he says you got to have some people who are nasty.
Right.
And you really do. He just chose his words unwisely and shouldn't have mentioned other colleges, I'm afraid.
Well, look at the linebackers that the Baltimore Ravens had. Ray Lewis, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, right?
Wow.
Well, you look at many of your all-stars in the NFL or whatever. They got that little nastiness. Off the field, you hope they're nice guys, but you can't play football, as you know. Can't play football in a dress. You gotta have to have you have to have that little nastiness, and that's what he was trying to say, but he didn't say it in the right way.
Well, if you remember, Singletary with the Bears.
Oh, yes.
When they showed his eyes when he was focusing.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that guy was possessed.
And you have to have that. So, yeah, it was unfortunate he said that. Shouldn't have said that. But was he right? Yeah, I think he was right. I really do. I really do. When you look at some of the other games, you mentioned Nebraska, you mentioned Wisconsin. What Alabama did to Michigan last week, do you think they're back number one team in the nation?
I thought Southern Cal might be the number two, and after they struggled to win yesterday at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Apparently they're overrated. I don't know who's the second best team in the country. Right now, Alabama's heads and shoulders above everybody. Maybe Oregon, I don't know.
Bad thing is, when we talk about Oregon, we don't get a chance to re-see them. We don't hear about them. We're going to hear about Notre Dame, we're going to hear about Michigan, Ohio State, and we're going to hear about teams like that. But when they're on the coast like that, we don't get, it's hard to see. In fact, you don't really get a compare like you'd like to. But Oregon, I think, has the only thing I don't like about Oregon, I don't like their uniforms. Now, you probably do, don't you?
My kids do. They think they're cool. I mean, I guess the company that makes those out there, that's where they're based, and that's why they have those fancy uniforms.
Well, the Nike headquarters are in Eugene, Oregon.
There you go.
Yeah, that's where they're at.
But there's probably more talk about their uniforms than there are their actual football play.
But they have some good. They have some good players. Obviously, they're a good football team. What I heard as a cop out from the Nebraska coach, he says, "Well, we're disappointed we got beat, but really, the only thing that matters to us is the Big Ten." He says, because it's a Big Ten championship game this year again. He says, our first goal is to win our division, and then the Big Ten championship, whatever happens in the other games, we try to win them all, but that's all we focus on. Well, that's kind of a cop-out. But with all these conference championships, that may be true, and it's going to be more so in, 2 years when they go to a playoff? What they're going to do is they're going to take, like, the conference champions, and every conference champion is going to be in. You don't have to worry so much anymore if you're 12-0. If you win your conference, in major conference,
right.
Big Ten, SEC, what they're saying, they're going to be automatic bids. They're going to do like they do basketball, and the committee pick the other team. So, really, you're going to have to win your conference probably to get in. What they're going to say, what they said is going to make SEC mad is that we don't, if you didn't win your conference, how can you play for the national championship?
Like last year, there were two of them.
Last year. And Alabama won the conference. LSU didn't. LSU beat them during the year, and Alabama got beat by them during the year, but they came back and beat them during the. And they said that's not right. If you win your conference, you should be able.
Now it does. No, what about this scenario though? It does kind of put Notre Dame in a pickle because they don't belong to a football conference.
They're going to have 6 teams, 6 conferences that get automatic bids.
And two at large.
2 at large, and that'll be the nice thing about that. It's not going to be on a point system, or whatever. It's going to be a committee, like in basketball, there's a committee.
Right.
That's you. There's going to be a committee, and they're going to weigh the schedules and weigh this and that. So it won't be like, well, let's pad our schedule with 12-0, and then we'll get in. It's going to be a committee picking the other 2 at large. So that I like. I really do.
Yeah, they're not going to be 2 independents. It could be a conference.
They may not be in it.
It could be Notre Dame and some
right.
other team.
That's right. We mentioned Indiana. We know they struggled. Last year, winning 1 game. This year, they beat Indiana State, which is a 1-2A. Barely. And Massachusetts, this is the first year they're in Division I. They got clobbered last week, 37-0 by Connecticut. Indiana goes out there and wins big, and that's great, but they lose. Arguably their best offensive player, Trey Roberson, the quarterback. That's going to hurt them.
Broke his leg, from what I understand.
And Indiana plays Ball State next week.
Who beat him last year?
Who beat him last year. And Julie Shear, you're going to put on your website, you're going to give away 4 free tickets. 8 o'clock game to Indiana. It's at Indiana. Ball State at Indiana.
Memorial Stadium.
Memorial Stadium. And 4 free tickets, compliments of WWK and the Hawk Sports Talk. We're going to give you 4 free tickets to go see that game. You can go down there. It's an 8 o'clock game. Then you can stay all night and go to the Colt game the next day. That's what Tracy Fisher's going to do. You can go to the Colt game the next day, or you can stay overnight and make a nice vacation. So we're going to let you give away 4 free tickets, if that's okay, Julie. So next week, Ball State at IU, and it is a night game, so it won't be hot. It'll be a great, great, great time. College football in full swing, and we talked about the majors. You know, you mentioned St. Francis going up to Notre Dame. They're good again, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, if you remember, it wasn't 2 or 3 years ago they beat Indiana State.
Yes, they did.
They beat a Division I school, so
Yes,
that wouldn't be a joke for that to happen.
No, and so we have some good football around there. Triton's playing good football. St. Francis plays good football, and Mid American plays good football. Ball State's playing well. The kid from Homestead last year went to Western Michigan. The Terrell kid. We all know Channel Harnish. Where did he play? Norwell. Where did he go play?
Northern Illinois.
Mid-American team.
Yeah.
Now, you have ties with a high university?
Well, my Bowling Green team.
Bowling Green.
They beat Idaho last night, 21-13, and they played good against Florida
I
last
was just
week.
going to say, against Florida.
They only got beat by what? 11 points?
Yeah, so the Mid-American is an awfully good league also.
Very good.
As well. And of course, they had a couple teams go to bowl games last year.
Mm-hmm.
College football, a lot of Notre Dame fans because they've been good. I always have to laugh. Now I'm going to make some people mad again. I have people say, I'm a Notre Dame fan and they root for basketball, football, soccer. I'm a Purdue fan. They root for everything in Purdue football. I'm a IU fan. They root for everything. It's just like you're an East Noble fan, right?
Absolutely.
But do you root for Homestead in football?
No.
Well, they won more football games than East Noble. Well, I have people that say, why are you a Notre Dame fan and then an IU basketball fan? You're not a fan. You're not a fan if you're a Notre Dame football. You're a front runner. You're a frustrated college football player because what these colleges found, when people pick out the winning teams, like someone from here says they root for Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not. They only did that because they're frustrated psychotically that they have not been winners, so they try to pick the winning team rather than rooting for a local team. I can understand why people root for the Bears. That was the team here before the Colts came.
It was a TV deal.
TV deal, whatever. But when people say, well, I'm a Notre Dame football and IU and basketball and baseball, and from there, they're not true college fans. And, if you're a true fan, you say, I'm a IU fan, everything. Mm-hmm. I'm a Notre Dame fan, everything. I'm a Purdue fan, everything. Those are your true fans. People who pick and choose, and they did studies on that, and people do that, have frustrations in their lives, and so they pick winners because they want to feel good about themselves. They don't feel good enough about themselves by who they are. And they did studies on that. And so hopefully you pick a university and stay with them. Don't be Notre Dame football, IU basketball, Purdue in baseball and all that sort of stuff. Now you're mad at me, aren't you?
No, I think that's I agree with that logic. I think next week, though, you're going to find out how good really Notre Dame is when they play Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State, and that's at Michigan State.
I think that's the real test of really, 4 games into the season, you're going to know how good they are.
Right.
Because that's going to be an uphill challenge.
Well, Notre Dame, unlike almost anywhere else, if you go 8-4, that's a bad season.
Mm-hmm.
IU and Purdue love to be 8-4.
Mm-hmm.
Ball State love to be 8-4.
Mm-hmm.
But Notre Dame, if you're 8-4, they want to get a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching TV because about 5 minutes, the games come on. We see that the Urlacher's there warming up. We saw Luck warming up. And any final comments on college football before we send it back to Julie? We'll have like 3 more minutes to recap the Colts. Anything at all?
No, and there again, being a Hoosier, I kind of hope they all do well.
They all do well. Well, Julie, that'll do it for the college portion. We'll stop right here and we'll come back like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and talk about the Colts real quick. Is that all right?
Sure.
Right here on YouTube, the Julie Shear TV network, right here in Kendallville, Indiana.